Well, hello there and welcome back to another episode of the GolfRules Questions podcast, episode 24. In fact, yes, we're back for 2021. We may already have been back for 2021, but we're back again for 2021. And if you're watching on the YouTube and you saw me dancing there, well, that's the spirit of Golf Rules that I'm in, because I'm sitting alongside, and yesterday I wasn't alongside him. I was alongside him on the golf course, which was a pleasure. Blakey, the Golf Rules guru himself. How are you, sir? Welcome back to your own podcast.
Yeah, thank you, Roscoe. Very good. Yeah, we played golf together yesterday with another one of our friends from Birdies and Bogies, Phil. But I just wanted to cut you short there, Roscoe. I usually cut your dancing out of the vlogcast on YouTube. So sorry to the viewers. If you did want to see Roscoe, he probably won't get to see his moves there.
Outrageous behaviour. Who wouldn't want to see a grown old man aging ungracefully dancing at the intro to a vlogcast podcast? Anyway, if you do want to see me dance on that, you have to go across there because he's going to leave it in.
Well, actually, if you dance at the end, I'll leave it in for you, just for you. So viewers will have to keep watching if they want to see Roscoe dancing.
David, I'll do the fun stuff. We're back. Let's get back on track. All right. We're off track already. Let's get back on track. So a reasonably short, sharp episode. We might have a little bit of a chat about our golf in a second, but short, sharp episode. We've got last week's Golf Rules question of the week. Perplexed me a little bit, but I think the answer is a little bit more simple than it may have got me at the time. We have one of the rules to talk and discuss that you've identified. I don't think we've got any Ivers. We've got our background bingo. I'm Sans background this week. I'm going to try and trick the regular background bingo exponent even more so, just by getting him to have a look at my podcast studio background here, and I might throw him a challenge there. But you've got another background there, and and then another Golf Rules question of the week. I think that's what keeps everyone on the edge, waiting for the question of the week. Now, last week's question, Blakey, as I said, it perplexed me. Have you got the question there, young man? Can you cover that off? Can you tell us what it was?
Yeah, the question was for the episode 23 Golf Rules question of the week. Can you, if a player and opponent, are they able to agree on a half after the player has hit a wrong ball? And the answer is no. So you're not permitted to agree to a half after a player's hit a wrong ball, because the hole has already been decided. So the result of that hole's already been decided by the player hitting a wrong ball. They automatically lose the hole. Now, we did talk about match play rules, which are slightly different to stroke play rules, in episode 15, Roscoe, or maybe 10. Yep, that's pretty terrible memory by us. So there is a little bit more to this question. So it's quite a simple question. Basically, no, you're not allowed to agree to a half. But there is a little bit more to this question, as in, if neither of the players, the player or the opponent, knew the actual rules, then they can agree to a half. Does that make sense, Roscoe? So if you and I didn't know the rules, and we said, I said, I've just hit a wrong ball, and you said, okay, well, whatever, let's have a half, and we didn't know the rules, that half would actually stand. If you then found out later on that it was an automatic loss of hole for me, then you couldn't make a claim if you later on in the future, if you had already agreed to that half. Okay, but now none of the listeners will be able to make that claim that they don't know the rules, because they've obviously listened and watched us talk about this question.
So it really is only going to affect you if you're playing in a match play at the club or against your friends, colleagues, social group or whatever sort of thing, yeah?
Yeah, that's exactly right. It's obviously not going to affect stroke play. What's the penalty for hitting a wrong ball in stroke play, Roscoe?
In stroke play, 2 strokes.
And?
Oh, geez, you're not allowed to put me on the spot like this. 2 strokes and
It's fun for me, though.
you have to go back to where you played the last shot from.
You have to go back and find your ball.
Oh, right. Otherwise.
And if you can't find your ball,
yep.
What happens then?
I wasn't thinking about that.
You have.
So you've. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Set it up. Set it up.
I need to reevaluate the scenario. So I've played to whatever part of the area. I've found a ball. It's a Pro V1. It's a Pro V1, and I hit it, and then I get to the next shot, and I realise it's not my ball.
Yep.
So then I go, Blakey, like I did yesterday to wind you up, I need a ruling, make you walk across the field. You were very, very good and very diligent when I said, Blakey, I need a ruling over here. And you strode across a number of times until you realised I was just winding you up. And I could see rules official mode straight on. You had the head down tilted, striding across there to come and look at the scenario and the general area. I was very impressed with your rulesmanship behaviour out at Sandy Links. But so I've lost the ball. I've yelled out, Blakey, I've hit the wrong ball. And then you say, well, go back and find it. I can't find it. So I'm lost.
So then what do you do?
My first ball's lost.
Yep.
I've already hit a wrong ball.
Yep.
So do I have to take the 2-shot penalty for hitting a wrong ball and then go back to let's say, hit it off the first ball off the tee and restart from there?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Now playing your what?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 shot. Is that right?
I think you gave yourself an extra penalty there.
So I hit one into off the tee.
Yep.
And then I hit the wrong ball.
Yep.
I count that shot. 2.
No.
Oh, you don't count that one. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Right. That's right. So 1, hit the wrong ball. Don't count that shot, but take the 2-shot penalty. So 2.
Spot on.
4th shot is the penalty to go back to the tee.
Yep.
And then now I put my 5th back down the fairway, 320, as I should have done the first time.
Yeah. And then you chip on, knife it over the green and then chip on and 2-putt.
Well, you weren't supposed to tell anyone that happened.
I know, but then you threw me under the bus and said that I was rules official mode, striding across the fairway. I was actually, crapping myself going, oh, what issue has he got now? I hope I don't get it wrong.
No, I wouldn't do that to you. Well, there you go. So I'll be playing my 5th.
Yeah. So we've kind of, because what happens, I said, no, you don't count that wrong ball shot, stroke. You never count the stroke with the wrong ball, even if you hit the wrong ball 1, 2, 3 times and then find out that it's a wrong ball.
Oh, right.
Which happens.
Yeah.
It has happened, definitely.
Yeah, well, it's quite often you might get up to the green and get onto the putting green, you pick it up and go, oh, jeepers, it's the wrong ball.
However...
Sorry, go on. Yep.
No. Sorry to interrupt. If, this is a funny one, if, say, you looked at your ball after you stroke number 1, you saw this ball and you go, yep, that's my ball, Titleist 5, you hit it, you get up to it and you go, oh, actually, I think I was playing a Titleist 4. I think that was a wrong ball. And then you think, no, it was a Titleist 5, and you hit it again. And then you get up to it again and you go, no, it was definitely a Titleist 4. You've actually hit a wrong ball twice. So you get 4-shot penalty.
Yeah, right. And then you get, okay.
Because there was a, what do they call it? A separating act.
Okay.
Where you've actually worked out that you had hit the wrong ball once and then you decide to hit the wrong ball again. So it's another wrong ball. So you got 4 shots. Anyway, that's a little bit off what we were talking about with that Golf Rules Questions rule of the week.
Yeah, but it's probably a little bit more relevant in many scenarios that's most likely to occur in stroke play. But yeah, I've certainly been in and around matches in the early day when I, as a young fella, playing golf and the sort of club match play events. And I can distinctly remember that happening. It was a long time ago, but no one knew the rule about loss of hole or how many shots. So I can't remember the outcome, but I remember there was some consternation about what do we do. What I was going to say is, if you are that person that hits the wrong ball a couple of times, realizes it's the wrong ball, then goes back and finds your ball, and then ends up back at the tee, and I'm in the group behind, you know what happens then, Blakey?
You yell at them.
I'm checking your card at the end of the round for your 27 points, and you'll wipe on that hole, and just reminding you, if you've lost the ball in the ball comp and you've come back to the tee, I will give you the ball that you miss out on for not going back to the tee, Blakey. But anyway, everyone's allowed to go and play their game.
Now, I will just, Roscoe, I will just finish it off as well. There is a couple of other scenarios. I know it's match play, but if you can't agree to a breach of a rule, like, you can't agree to disregard a breach, as in, if you say, I've hit a wrong ball, and I know that hitting a wrong ball is a penalty of loss of hole, then I have to claim the hole. But if, I don't know, I'm just making examples up here. If you said I'm hitting, you specifically said I'm hitting a Titleist 2 off the tee. We found a ball. It was a Titleist 3. I didn't say anything. You didn't say anything. You hit it and onto the green, and you two-putted, and I made a 4 and you made a 4, and I never said anything. I could actually, because we haven't had a conversation to agree to a breach, I could actually, that would be a half, because I knew the information that you actually had hit a wrong ball, but we didn't have a conversation to agree to disregard the breach, so that would be considered a half. I know that's a bit strange, but that's why we love match play. It's a little bit more strange than stroke play. And lastly, just to get off this one altogether, lastly, if you don't find out that there's a wrong ball hit by the player, so say they do that similar situation, but you don't know about it, you end up with a half on the hole. They get to the next tee, they hit their ball, and then they go, oh, that was a Titleist 3. I'm pretty sure I started with a Titleist 2 on the hole before. Then, so because they hadn't provided you, and and they go through it in their head, and they're an honest person, and they realize that they must have changed their ball on the hole before, because they haven't provided you that information where they had lost the hole, they automatically now they tell you, and they lose that hole before. They don't lose the current one, because they actually did tee off with the correct ball when they teed off with the Titleist 3. Is that clear as mud?
Pretty much. All I can see is, if you are that player, you are about one step away from breaking down and having a teary moment on the golf course, if that's happened to you. But if anyone has had one of these situations happen that's caused them or their playing partners some consternation on the course, please write in and tell us. We would love to hear direct feedback of real life scenarios from real life golfers. So, excuse my dog's barking. It's past their bedtime. They put up with this podcast. But if we would like to hear from you, if you have had these situations occur. So anyway, moving forward. Great explanation, Blakey. There's a number of different angles, and you've covered every one of them. So is that all on that one? Can we move forward?
We can move forward. Oh, the only other thing I wanted to say is, and I should have said this right at the start, episode 24 is significant. Why, Roscoe?
Well, I don't know, because it's the first week that the PGA Tour is back for 2021, and that always gives some fodder. 24, there'll be some numerical sort of computation that your analytical mind has developed. I don't know. I'm not the numbers guy. What else? 24, 2 times 4.
I love to put you on the spot. For all the rules experts, intermediate experts or beginner experts.
Really not me.
24 is the number of rules in the rules of golf. It used to be 34. It is now 24.
Oh, sorry. I was searching for my Players Edition, which I do have here, and you can see because there it is right there. I've got the Players Edition, usually always at hand. And, you know, just when I want to peel back and just refresh myself, I just pull the Players Edition out, which is always here in the podcast studio. Blakey, thanks to you.
Actually, tell me, Roscoe, does it go up to 24 in the Players Edition?
There's definitions. The definitions are at the back.
Yeah.
Yeah, it goes up to 24. Team.
Yeah. I'm surprised about that. I mean, it's good, but the Players Edition is a very basic guide to the rules of golf, and so something like Rule 20 might be a little bit beyond what you're going to need out on the golf course in the Players Edition. Team competition, yeah, foursomes, four ball, yeah, definitely. But I would have thought maybe may have missed out a couple of those ones.
Well, let me just say it is a handy little guide to have in your bag at all times, because we all can't walk around with the A4 almanac that you tend to walk around in every breathing moment of your life on top of the grass. But Rule 20, while you mentioned that, you've just recalled that as superfluous, but, you know, sort of around what we're talking about, resolving. Oh, no, hold on. What is Rule 20, David?
Well, you've started me off. I already knew it, but, well, oh, sorry, that's not true. I already knew kind of what it was. It's about resolving situations in stroke play and match play.
Well, let me read from the Players Edition.
Yes, please do. Please correct me.
I'll just
procedures for players, and anyway,
clear my glasses that they've got a bit of dust on them from cutting down about 10 sets of golf clubs today. You know, it's quite a dusty environment when you're cutting down golf clubs after you fit them. But anyway, it is for resolving rules issues during the round, rulings by referee and committee. Covers what you should do when you have questions about the rules during a round, including the procedures, which differ in match play and stroke play, allowing you to protect your right to get a ruling at a later time. The rule also covers the role of referees who are authorised to decide on questions of fact and apply the rules. Rulings from a referee or the committee are binding on all players. There you go.
Everyone should know Rule 20.1C3. Playing two balls when uncertain what to do.
Okay, yeah, no, that's a handy one, because that does come into play a number of times. So we'll let everyone read that at their own pace. If you don't have a Players Edition, it is highly likely that the manager or someone in charge of responsibility at your golf club will have a stack of these tucked away somewhere, maybe in the pro shop, but certainly in the office. You should be entitled to go up and claim one. And if you don't have one, I do recommend that you do. Used it a handful of times in my recent time as a golfer. Never really carried it as a young golfer, for obvious reasons, because you don't carry that sort of stuff when you're a young fella. But certainly as you get to playing in pennant and playing in matches and playing in club competitions, it's certainly a handy, the handy thing to have. And if you're a lower handicapper and you have, I guess, that added responsibility for, I guess by default being the one that should know, it's always handy to have something like that.
Do you want me to sign that one for you, Roscoe?
Jesus.
Also,
I'd rather, if you want one. So I just told you to go to your club and get one, but hold on, I'll retract that. If you want one signed by Blakey, well, he's back at Golf Australia in the office now. He's got access to thousands of them. Write in, email in, and he'll send you an autographed edition. He might take a photo and put a little frame with it and send it out there.
Email me a question that I'm not going to be able to answer.
A signed edition.
Yeah. Email me a question I can't answer, and I'll if I can't answer it, I'll sign and send you out a Players Edition.
I've just moved to a new sphere of bloody tickets on yourself, them bloody signing rules. That's great. Well done. No, good. I'll sign one if you want. No problems at all.
Yep, no problems.
Crickets there. Okay, fair enough. Anyway, we played a bit of golf yesterday. It was a lot of fun. Just a bit of a shout out to Sandy Links. Now it's going to be the home of the PGA and Golf Australia. They're building a fabulous new facility down there, big building, range, elite training centre, and they've redesigned, redeveloped the 18 holes of golf that was formerly the Sandringham Golf Course, turned it into Sandy Links. Appropriately named as a links because it has very much that links style of feel, redeveloped and designed by the team down at OCM, Ogilvy, Cocking and Mead. And I can definitely see a lot of their influence, having witnessed the redevelopment of Peninsula Kingswood with Mike Cocking at the helm of that. Certainly the green complexes, have got the fescue leading up to the beautiful, I'm not sure if it's pure distinction greens, but those greens are proper sandbelt greens. And it really is in, what I would hope to have as, a public access golf course in Melbourne, and being that it's across the road from Royal Melbourne, it is on sandbelt land. And if you don't get access to some of these wonderful courses that we have in the sandbelt, and there are many of them, that is a great place to start, and that will give you a true sandbelt-like experience. Still very new, still very young, a bit of growing in and a bit of settling in to happen, as happens at many new or redeveloped courses. But I thought it was mainly. Is there a par 5 on the track there? It's just par 4s and 3s.
No, there's just par 4s and par 3s.
And it was a lot
some of those par 3s though are awesome. Fantastic.
There's nothing dinky about it, so don't let the fact that it's only par 4s and 3s. It's really designed for the golf to be fun, and I think that was the brief. So looking forward to going to Lonsdale Golf Club, Lonsdale Links over there on the Bellarine Peninsula next week. Blakey, 2 weeks in a row, you and I playing golf together. Unbelievable. Might even take a little ferry trip, David.
Yes. Yep. We'll see if we can hit some balls off the ferry.
Probably not, but we did have a couple of real scenarios yesterday. Did we make a video? Did the video turn out okay? Was it acceptable?
Yeah, we made a couple of videos, so we'll pop them up as soon as we can.
I get my first sort of debut.
Yeah, and you were good too. You're a star
on the GolfRules Question YouTube. Well, there we go. Anyway, we mentioned that the tour started back, the Tournament of Champions, the Century Tournament of Champions at Kapalua. Great course to watch the golf. I think the players love going there as the start of the year because it gets them and their families off to Hawaii, although it's a bit different at the moment. But it's a good fun course for them to make a load of birdies. I think minus 25 won. Harris English won that tournament, not actually a champion from 2020, but there goes my phone. But his qualification into that tournament probably came through FedEx standings, and he went and won the thing. So he wasn't the champion, but he went and won it.
He is now.
He is now. It's a tournament that was a favourite of the Australians. Jeff Ogilvy won that, and Stuart Appleby won that maybe 3 years on the trot, if you remember. So it's that tournament that kicks off the season. Now, there was a little scenario there that has just recently popped up onto the GolfRules Questions YouTube, fresh video, and thanks to Stuart for getting that prepped for in time for tonight's episode. Let me just hit play then.
Goes out 3 under. So Ryan Palmer is right there. He's at 20 under. Earlier today, though, Rolfin, we were watching it. It was your hole. It was a situation where he didn't quite get it up to the green, came all the way back down, and then watch what happens.
Yeah, it doesn't hit this one nearly far enough, and he knows where it's going to end up, or approximately. So he starts walking ahead of the ball, back down the hill. Now you'll see a couple of old divots here. You wonder whether he thinks maybe that ball is going to end up there as he brushes the divot away. That, I think, would be deemed improving your line. Ball never actually got there, so we'll see. I'm sure the officials will sort it out with Ryan.
And they are. They're gonna talk to him, no doubt, have him take a look and see what was going through his mind at that point.
Well, there you go. So just to recount on that, he hits a pitch, so maybe a 40-meter chip, gets to the top of the ridge of the green. He's flubbed it a bit. It comes back down the hill, and he's, it's obviously not far enough. He's walking toward the ball, is rolling towards. He sort of has his back half turned. In my mind, you can see that it's not going to roll to where he's positioning himself, and there's a divot on the ground, and he just sort of kicks it, and it looks like it's sort of in half frustration, if anything, and the ball doesn't end up anywhere near there. But as you can hear from the commentators, they questioned the fact that, was he thinking that the ball might roll towards that divot, and therefore he was getting ready to prepare the area where the ball may have ended up. Now, how did it turn out, Blakey?
Yeah, so the officials, when this kind of thing happens, the officials have to speak to the player and just find out what their intention is, because Rule 11.3 is all about deliberately affecting conditions where the ball in motion may affecting where the ball in motion may come to rest. And so first of all, we find out what the player was doing when he kicked the divot. Ryan was interviewed, and then we hear about a little bit about what he said and what the official said to him in a media interview that they do just after you pushed stop. So make sure you go to YouTube and check that out. But he said, Ryan said, I had no idea that the ball was going to go there. I was kicking the divot in frustration. I thought that the ball was stopping basically where it did stop, and that was 10 foot from where I kicked the divot. So had no deliberate intention to affect where the ball would have come to rest. And on the basis of that, and it didn't look like it was intended to be deliberate. The ball really was about to come to rest when he sort of kicked it. And Ryan doesn't really have a bad, a sort of a bad rap sheet. If it was another player that we shall not mention, he certainly would have got, whether he had intention or didn't have intention, he certainly would have been, what's the term, pulled over the coals, or
more highly scrutinized.
Yeah, exactly right. So this is where, if you've got credits to your name in terms of being honest and have high integrity, then it's not going to, it's not going to screw you around later. Whereas if you've sort of used them all up, then that may work against you in the future.
Right. So he didn't get penalised. He explained himself, and I think if any normal man or referee looked at the vision, you would come to the same consensus that I did, when I watched it the first time before you had fully explained what it is. Now, very good. Now, but it's not the only situation where, the ball at rest, or the ball at rest can interfere with the ball in motion. You've got another video up there on the YouTube, and that's changed in the 2019 rulings. So you want to describe what I'm talking about there before I mess it up?
That's all right. No, you're doing a pretty good job. So I made another video with a different actor to you. Made another video with a different actor the other day, and just posted that on my YouTube recently. This is probably quite a common occurrence. One, I actually created two videos. One was where the player hit the ball into another ball, and she hit her ball from on the putting green and hit another ball that was at rest on the putting green. 11.1 tells us that is a penalty of 2 strokes in stroke play, no penalty in match play, and then the ball at rest just needs to be replaced. And then we did another video basically on the same green, where the player hit the putt and it was rolling towards that ball at rest. The player yells out, "Please mark it." The opponent, another player in stroke play didn't get there in time, but luckily the ball missed. Now, if the opponent had got there, another player had got there in time, because we're talking about stroke play, they would have been able to, and this is what you're talking about, they would have been able to mark and lift that ball at rest on the putting green when another ball was in motion. And this is the addition to the rules of golf from 1 January 2019, the addition of being able to mark a ball at rest on the putting green that may affect a ball in motion after a stroke.
Okay, so why match play? Is it not a replay or a penalty or anything like that?
That's a really good question, actually. So in stroke play, obviously it's about, if we're playing together, we're actually playing against each other in individual stroke play, but we're also playing against everyone else on the field. And so if two players actually knew each other and were quite friendly with each other in stroke play, it would be not within the spirit of the game if those players actually colluded and looked after each other. So the rule was there to penalise you if that happens. Whereas in match play, you know that you're playing that person. So if we're playing in match play, Roscoe, I'm playing you. Your ball being in front of the hole is going to disadvantage me. So of course I'm going to get you to mark it. Yep. Your ball being behind the hole is not going to disadvantage me. It might advantage me. So of course you're going to make the decision that you want to mark it. So in the first case, I'll want you to mark it. In the second case, you'll want to mark it. But if it doesn't happen, then one of us is going to get disadvantaged or one of us is going to get advantaged if the ball wasn't marked. And because it's a match, we're the only ones that are stupid enough to let that happen, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think that's the context. Stupid enough. If it happens one way or the other, it's a silly mistake and totally avoidable. But
if you said you just hit one out of the bunker to 3 foot short of the hole, I was too tight to give it to you, and it was right on my line, and I was just about to putt, and you said, right behind the hole. It was 3 foot right behind the hole, and you were just raking the bunker, and you looked over and you said, "I'll mark that." Then I would have to wait or get someone to mark it before I played my shot. Otherwise, I've taken away your rights of having the ball marked. And similarly, if it was 3 foot short of the hole and on my line, and I asked you to mark it and you said, "Nah, no chance," and tried to stymie me, you would be taken away my rights of having it marked, and so you would actually lose the hole.
Back in the stroke play example, so I guess one of the areas there that becomes very obvious, and it's been talked about in the tour, not last year but the year before, a couple of players on the men's and the women's, backstopping.
Yes.
And that's probably the best example of how it is applied or how it's been sort of discussed on a tour level. I think what's his name, Jimmy Walker, was sort of half inferred to helping one of his mates, not marking a ball, not rushing to mark a ball behind when his fellow competitor was coming onto the green. I think there was a scenario with the girls who played, and there was a bit of backstopping sort of discussion there. I don't think either of them were penalised, but it certainly looked, if what's his name on the tour on the weekend didn't look questionable, those examples to me look questionable. But I'm not the rules official here. I just tell it as I see it. So there you go.
Yeah, unfortunately, there is a little bit of an unwritten rule, which we certainly don't like, that some of the players have arranged between themselves, unwritten and unspoken about, as I said, where backstopping is basically allowed to happen on Thursday, Friday, but isn't allowed to happen on Saturday, Sunday, which is a little bit annoying because to actually penalise the players, they have to have had a conversation. This could even be tacitly implied conversation, like a nod of the head or a, put up your hand, don't do that. I'll have it left there, please. But you've got to see that and you've got to prove it, and it's quite hard to do. But yeah, so unfortunately there is a bit of an unwritten rule. I will talk about, hopefully if you've got 5 minutes to listen to me, a clarification that came out. You know, we talked about clarifications last week. This clarification came out 1 year ago about the term backstopping. So this was agreed to between the USGA and the R&A. Backstopping is the common term used to describe the following situation in stroke play. A player without agreement with any other player leaves his or her ball in place on the putting green close to the hole in a position where another player who is about to play from off the putting green could benefit if his or her ball struck the ball or at rest. As there has been no agreement to leave the ball in place to help any player, there is no breach of the rules. See Rule 15.3a. However, the R&A and USGA take the view that backstopping fails to take into account all of the other players in the competition and has the potential to give the player with the backstop an advantage over those other players. Consequently, the USGA and the R&A offer players the following guidance and explanation of best practice. In stroke play, the competition involves all players, and because each player in the competition cannot be present to protect his or her own interests, protecting the field is an important responsibility and that all players in the competition share. Therefore, in stroke play, if there is a reasonable possibility that a player's ball close to the hole and could help another player who is about to play from off the green, both players should ensure that the player whose ball is close to the hole marks and lifts that ball before the other player plays. If all players follow this best practice, it ensures the protection of the interests of everyone in the competition.
So I'm on the green and I'm behind, and I might just be covering over stuff we've already talked about, but you're coming out of the bunker and I was dawdling, you whop it out of the bunker, it's rolling towards, and I realise I might be creating a backstopping issue. Your ball's in motion, running down the ridge of the green. Can I run up? I can run up and mark my ball?
Yes, under Rule 11.3, you can mark a ball that is at rest on the putting green when another ball is in motion.
Even though I have known that the ball was there when I made a stroke coming out of the bunker, and I didn't ask you, or I didn't offer you to wait, would you like to mark that? You know, do you want to mark that? Can you mark that? You should mark that. I choose to hit, and then I'm the one going, hey, mate, you can't use my ball as a potential backstop. I'm going to run down and mark it. But there you go. I'd love to see that happen on the PGA Tour, as if they're going to do that. You know, those guys sometimes are a little bit of write their own rules. You would sometimes think I'm a little bit harsh on them. Rocket's even harsher on the law of the PGA Tour player. But anyway, that's another issue. You got any thoughts on that? Please let us know.
Yeah, if you're any PGA Tour players are offended by Roscoe's comments, please come and be interviewed for the podcast.
I don't think you'd be offended. I'm not offending anyone. But
I was trying to fire them up.
I'm happy to have it out. I'm happy to bring Rocket on. We'll have a four-way of a tussle. No problems.
Is Rocket your lawyer?
Easy to throw things from a podcast sitting back in my Kmart little podcast chair. Easy. So I appreciate and respect all of the guys that are good enough to play on any tour, whatever part of the world that they are on, and do respect them as golfers. But some people, get called out for it. There you go. Anyway, moving on. Background bingo. Rocket, last week's background bingo. I've done it. Yes, I have done it. I think I've stymied the background bingo. I've stymied him.
Oh, I think that's a bit harsh, though. You've provided two players and some grass, as his comments were. You didn't really give him too much of a hint.
Well, you may have thought that it might have been in Scotland, because usually it's either Australia or Scotland or Ireland, my background bingos. And the two gentlemen in there did look decidedly Scottish, wearing their +4s and a wee bonnet. But it wasn't Scotland. It was actually a wonderful, beautiful moment captured with two senior gentlemen of the Mornington Peninsula enjoying their Tuesday afternoon golf at the dunes, and beautifully captured by my good Scottish friend, Stuart Kerr. I do have some of Stuart's photos, and he lets me use them. So some of those photos that I've used have been from Stuart. And just on Stuart, if you want to get access to the Lynx Diary, a new Scottish journal, coffee table type journal. There's a wonderful story in there about Stuart and his dad and their round at the old course. Very great story of golf. But yeah, it was the Dunes, Lynx, Andrew Miller.
And mine was Lakes Entrance. So I crossed over the ditch and got one in Victoria, which is almost the furthest east course in Victoria. Not quite, but Lakes Entrance. So well done, Andrew, for getting mine.
Well done. And this week I am Son's background single picture. I've got a couple of pictures up there. If anyone wants to cross over to the YouTube and check it out, this is my little podcast studio. It's my little sanctuary. It's where I have done a lot of work in the last 6 months. It was formerly known as my son's bedroom, but he's been kicked out, and I've taken it, reclaimed it, sitting in what was once his wardrobe. And you can see the background behind me. So, Andrew, yeah, you are a regular participant in this, and this segment is pretty much only for you at the moment. But anyone else wants to join in, please do. There's a little picture up there behind me, once again, taken by one of my friendly photographer, global golfing photographer friends. See if you can guess what that is, mate. See if you can guess what that is.
Oh, I thought you were going to ask him, guess your address.
No. Why would you do that?
Well, that's the background bingo. Where is this house?
If anyone is tuning in for the first, second, or third time, there's something you've got to realize about Blakey. You know, he is in his alter ego outside of the Golf Rules Guru. He is a fledgling comedian, and I think he fancies himself as another life or another career as a comedian. And you've just seen some of the finest work just there.
Absolutely. Now, my background bingo. This one is staying in the same state as I was last week. I actually played this course during the week. So there's 2 golf courses at this facility, and this one here coming down one of the holes, which has a fantastic view over the whole valley, basically.
Too much information.
No, it's not too much information. It's
only 4 courses in the whole of Victoria that
have doubles.
There's maybe one. There's one triple. What else?
Yeah, one triple.
There's a couple of other doubles. There's a few doubles.
There's a few doubles. I'm thinking, how many on the Mornington Peninsula? That's a double. Just the one? 2. Would you class your one as Mornington Peninsula?
Anyway, there's not that many doubles.
And there's one on the Bellarine, and then there's this one, which is very near Melbourne. So, Andrew, have a go at that.
Too much information.
Right. What are we up to next?
No, Ivers. We've just got this week's Golf Rules Question of the Week. So let's run with that. It's a long one here, Blake. I'll give it a read in my best.
Yeah. Can you do it in Scottish voice, old Tom?
No, I don't know old Tom, but I'll give it. I'll give it my best.
Young Tom.
I'll give it my best. If you think that adds some value, I might give that a go. All right. Would you like an Edinburgh accent or a Glaswegian accent?
Edinburgh, please.
I have to put my posh Edinburgh accent on.
They might understand you then.
I can do a Glaswegian partly. No offense intended, but anyway. Okay. If the local rule for power lines has been adopted, which is E11, and a player then hits their second shot into the power line that is covered by the local rule, only to then discover that the ball that they had hit was not their ball, what is the ruling? Can I do that again?
Yes, please.
If the local rule for power lines has been adopted, E11, and a player then hits their second shot into the power line that is covered by the local rule, only then to discover that the ball that they had hit was not their ball, what's the ruling, mate?
That's a good one.
Okay. Well, I don't know where that came from. probably my little character. Is it Pro V1? We actually had a Pro V1 situation turn out at Sandy Links. Both of us, in a friendliness, snap hooked, whatever hole it was, maybe the fifth.
It was the eighth. It was the eighth.
Avoiding the right-hand side road, snap hooked onto the fairway, and we get down there, and one of the fellow playing participants playing the previous hole was handling my ball, and it was a Pro V1, and we did have a chuckle on the walk up there, going, "It's a Pro V1, mate."
He was eyeing it off. He really liked it.
Well, naturally, because it was mine, it was a freshie, because they don't last too long, and there's only fresh ones in there. So it was a fresh number 6 Pro V1. I did get.
Actually, how long did that one last?
It didn't last the whole round. Because I hit my 5-wood into the water.
Oh, that's right.
Because you got in my head, because you said this is the hole where I hit in the water. I hadn't even seen the water, like whether I wasn't hitting it, and then you said this was the one I hit it in the water. So what did I do? Hit it in the water.
Oh, that's right. And then I hit it on the bush on the left-hand side.
Look, if you want to get better at the mental game, please join over the Mental Mastery podcast. It is probably one of Australia's bigger homegrown podcasts. It regularly rates very highly, so that means people listen to it. You have to listen to me again, unfortunately, or fortunately in some cases, but it certainly has got my golf back on track. How good's my putting? How good's my chipping? It's all down to the work of that I put into the mental game from the Mental Mastery Golf podcast. There we go, Blakey. Enough plugs for shameless promotion for me and the podcast family.
Now it's your turn to dance.
No more dancing. I've done the funny accent. I've tried to do the comedy. The comedy is clearly your gig tonight, Blakey. I'd just like to thank everyone for once again joining us on the ride. Tell your friend, share this with someone. There's a wide variety of people, boys and girls, that listen to this because they tell me. If you do listen to it and you don't follow on, please get in contact, and you can have a private golf rules consultation with Blakey or myself. You don't want one with me, but with Blakey, I'll organise you a private consultation. If you are a new golfer and you have other questions, we can give you a private consultation.
I like that.
Okay.
Let's go out for a golf playing lesson. Playing by the rules of golf.
Okay. Thanks for listening, Blakey. Well done. And I guess until we see you next week.
Without rules, there's chaos.